already know that at Gradeup, we bring you absolutely world-class faculty members. In fact, the kind of team that we have built for you for the CAT prep so far, you've seen the subject experts there, CAT 100 percentilers and CAT 99.99 percentilers and people with 20 years of experience. बहुत सारे subject matter experts हैं जिनके साथ आप interact करते आए हैं. And today I wanted to introduce a very, very, very special member of our team. Vidit will also be helping you move towards your journey of getting into a B school. So Vidit जो है, Vidit IIM अहमदाबाद के पास आउट हैं और एक टाइम था, मुझे ध्यान है, जब हम लोग एक चीज बोला करते थे that if you are a gem, then it is very nearly impossible for you to get into an IIM where the GEM stood for General Category Engineering Male. But then there are plenty of engineers who've gone on to prove that wrong. और एक और misconception बहुत सारे लोगों की बहुत discussions में आती रहती है that if you are not an engineer, then IIMs will not take you. At least Ahmedabad नहीं लेगा, नहीं तो Calcutta नहीं लेगा, ये वो ये. So there are plenty of myths that people have built up over the years, and I am sure Vidit will help you break through, shatter through those myths and unleash your inner potential. So welcome, Vidit. It's really, really nice to have you over today. And let's see what all we get to learn from you.
Thank you, Vikrant, for introducing me. And hello to everyone. Good evening. My name is Vidit Garg. And as I have already been introduced, I am an alum of IIM Ahmedabad. And I have completed my undergraduation from Hansraj College, University of Delhi. I completed Bachelor of Arts from there. And definitely I am with Gradeup to shatter all these myths and help you progress on your journey to getting into a good B school and fulfilling your career aspirations further. So I'm here to answer any of the questions today, and we'll be getting ahead with more sessions that are lined up.
Terrific. So Vidit, would you mind taking us slightly through your journey of life? Maybe which town you are from and which schools and colleges you studied at?
Yeah. So I come from a small town, which is Jagatri in district Yamunanagar, Haryana.
Oh, yes, I know that.
Right. And my early years of schooling were in a boarding residential school, which was an all-boys school only. And post that, I went to University of Delhi for my undergraduation. And after working approximately 2 years in my family business, I joined IIM Ahmedabad in their flagship PGP program. Okay. So yes, this has been my journey.
So Vidit, in the interview, did they ask you a lot of questions about your family business too? Because I've seen people, when we prepare them, they tend to ask us, "Sir, ye family business wala count hoga kya?" So what's your experience like?
Yes, I think this was also a concern for me, but they did ask me some questions, but I think I was well prepared. I could defend them very well. So that was not a problem. And actually, during my interview, the questions were blended along with the academic questions. So since I'd studied economics in my undergraduation, they blended the demand and supply theory and asked me to draw graphs circumventing around the question of my business. So that is how it was clubbed.
All right. So otherwise, what was your concern because of that family business bit? What were your thoughts initially?
Actually, there's a conception, I think in India specifically, that if someone is working in family business, so maybe he or she could not get a job, or maybe they're lying about it, or there are certain misconceptions that people have. But I think people should believe that people make informed choices about these also. Absolutely. I had various jobs offers after my undergraduation, but it was a family issue due to certain reasons I had to come back to my hometown. And I think the concern was that how would I convince the other side of it to not believe in such things. But yes, then I prepared well for my interview. I think I was able to defend all the questions which were asked.
I think it is more about the fact that a lot of people do show fake work experience, especially in family firms. And therefore the interviewers may be a bit skeptical, but if you've genuinely actually worked, I think there is nothing to fear. They have the way to figure that out too.
I agree. I totally agree. Yes.
And were you good at academics as well? Is that something that you believe helped you in getting into the college?
Yes, definitely. I was a silver medalist during my undergraduation.
Oh,
And
nice.
during my school days also, I was in the top 5%. So yes, I think that also was a big reason for getting a call.
And did you meet anyone in college whose acads were not stellar, but he was there at IIM Ahmedabad?
Yes, there were a couple of them. There were people with not so good academics, but yes, they were there. And I think the beauty of it is that each and every person there in the college had something or the other unique in themselves. And that is what I think made them, arrive at the campus.
So, would you like to? So, what do you think? What enabled those people to, even with relatively less stellar academics, to get into IIM Ahmedabad? Because a lot of students, in fact, even a day before yesterday, I was taking a session and somebody, in fact, it happens very regularly. Somebody would type in the message with my 10th CGPA is this, my 12th percentage is this, and these are my marks in graduation. Would I get through? So since we've seen people getting through,
Yes.
you have seen them getting through.
Yes.
What was that X factor in your opinion?
I think the X factor is to play on your strengths. So, we had people, someone who's good in, dancing, someone who's good in singing. And that was actually in a very professional manner, which they, were proficient in. So,
Right.
I mean, I think they played on their strengths, and that is how the weaknesses got shadowed down. Also, secondly, it's important to understand the selection criteria at each of the IIMs. There are certain points which are given for certain categories. And then a major role also comes in the PIWAT processes.
Absolutely.
And that is where you have to play on your strengths, I think.
And those of you who are listening to us, you can find the detailed criteria on the website of all the IIMs. However, when it comes to some of them, you won't be able to understand them completely. For example, when we talk about IIM Bangalore, IIM Shillong, you'll probably need our help to even interpret some of the points. You need to know statistics maybe, but it's actually possible. Vidit, one of our students, Devbrat, has a question.
Yeah.
He says, sir, I get distracted very frequently, especially while reading and verbal ability practice. How to manage and motivate myself to read and improve myself? So let me just break it down. So I think the first thing that he says is that he gets distracted, particularly when it comes to verbal, RCs and verbal. And second, I think he needs a bit of motivation and a strategy to improve it. This appears to be a three-part, pretty long question.
Yes. I think this is a very common problem which initially many of the aspirants face. And I think the idea I would really suggest here is that, start reading up on things which you like or which, inspire you to read more. It's not about reading high-level English or high-level, novels, etc. It's about reading what interests you more initially. And then you can, maybe start moving on from basic level to more medium or higher levels of reading, so that you're better equipped to answer questions which appear in the CAT in the VARC sections. I think that should be the first step which one should take in the whole process. And secondly,
I think please. Sorry. Oh, sorry, I thought that you did. Please.
Second, I think if you want to up your motivation levels, I think it's very important to be in a company. At least it worked in my case. I used to be with my colleagues who were also preparing simultaneously. And, you get that vibe that, there's some competition, you need to prepare. So I think that also really helps a lot. But that, yes, depends from person to person. But yes, this can also be one way to handle it.
So if I were to paraphrase, Devbrat, basically two things, Dipanshu, for you too. Read what you love, and you'll eventually love to read. I think both of us, Vidit and I, both of us are very avid readers, and therefore probably it also came relatively easy, became easy for us, but you can do that. And second, I think what I understood was that Vidit is saying that you need to work on your goal clarity. You need to become passionate about or become serious about the fact that you want to get in. So two very, very, very important points. And I in fact said this a couple of days ago. I'll say this again, that if you need any help from us, in fact, some students said that if we can have a group where we can read, we are very open to a reading club or a reading group. And you can of course, we can share recommendations, we can discuss things. We can probably have sessions like these on Zoom and talk about books more.
Yes,
So we
definitely.
can do that. So if you have any such requirement, do let us know. And before I move further, please share your session. A lot of our people are still missing. At least share in the groups that you are in. And do not forget to subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon. Most of our sessions are live. If you press the bell icon, you know when we are there. And this is one of those special sessions where we just sit down and discuss things amongst ourselves. So anything, Akshay also has a question. Akshay is asking something very related to your profile. What should be the minimum academic picture for IIM Ahmedabad? The minimum.
Okay.
So the first thing that came to my mind was, भाई 50% तो है ना graduation में, क्योंकि नहीं तो CAT दे नहीं पाएगा. So yes, otherwise you can take it up.
Yeah, I think the best, if you want to know about the minimum picture, the best source to refer to is the IIMA website for the criteria, because they have certain, I mean, that's the basic requirement that any institute has. I mean, 50% for undergraduation, etc. But when it comes to getting a call from an IIM, that's all in the selection process, which mentioned in detail on their website. So what primarily happens is that each of the categories divided into, there are AC1, AC2, AC3, etc. Basis, you are an engineer, you are a doctor, you are an arts graduate, etc. And basis that, the top 20 percentile from those category applicants are given scores progressively. So I think for more details, one can log on to the website and read more on it, and you will get more clarity.
True. We can probably prepare a simpler write-up too. And I think partly this question was also answered earlier, where Vidit told us that there were some people who did not have what you typically consider a stellar academic credentials.
Yes.
But as long as you have a well-rounded personality with one area where you can show or prove at least one area that you are definitely good, I think that should help to at least overcome those gaps, isn't it?
Yes.
And then Pinky has a question that I think I'll probably take that, where she wants to know the difference between the MAT exam and the CAT exam. Pinky, primarily, now see, the MAT exam usually gives you a score that is considered by colleges which are not that highly ranked. I very firmly believe that all the colleges are good. Whether they satisfy your expectations or not is what differentiates them. So the colleges are good, but they are usually not that highly ranked. As a result, the competition is lower. And even lesser effort can translate into higher percentiles. And second, the overall difficulty level of the exam is also lower than what you would find typically in the CAT. But I'd like to end with this one very important thing, Pinky, that when you prepare, you cannot calibrate. Prepare for the best college that you can target. Prepare for the toughest exam that you need to prepare for. And then, of course, spread it out and attempt more and more exams. Dipanshu again has a question with it. I'd leave it for you. When I read, my concentration goes out.
Okay.
So that's it. So what would you like to share?
I think the strategy here can be to read in bits and pieces initially. I mean, you read, it should not be necessary that you read for longer period of time. You can read for, you can start by making it a habit to read at least for 5 minutes each day. Then you start slowly progressing 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I am sure you will develop this habit of reading and you will enjoy it. I mean, you should not force it on yourself. The idea is to love reading what you're enjoying and learning from it. And I think all those issues of distraction, all those issues of not concentrating, they'll slowly vanish.
And Vidit, another question coming for you from Gaurang. Gaurang is telling me that he has already done his master's, his MBA for that matter, but from a college that he considers mediocre. He has not shared the name, but he still has this urge to be associated with premier institutes like the IIMs or XLRI. So what should he do? So any suggestion?
I think I mean, in my batch, we had people who had already done an MBA and they came for the flagship PG program at IIM. So there are such cases. And I mean, if you really have that urge to, get a top quality education from a good institute, and you feel that, there's certain skills which you might not have developed or certain things which you missed during your first MBA, I think there's no harm in pursuing a second MBA, but then I think there's a lot of time, effort, and monetary aspects which go into an MBA. You should be very sure of what you want to get out of your second MBA, unless it will be a waste of time, I think.
I've actually seen both the sides here. I have seen some people who are from colleges that are not highly ranked, and I've seen them in some absolutely great positions.
Yes.
I remember this guy that I met. He did his MBA from one of these colleges, smaller colleges in Ghaziabad. It was not IMT. I don't even recall the name now, but he went on to, he was the AVP Southeast Asia for Ericsson back then. I met him some 10, 12 years ago. So I've seen people who have gone on to build a great career for yourself. And I'm absolutely with Vidit on this, that if you think that there are certain things that you could not learn, then your goal, your focus should be to progress your career by learning those things.
Yes.
Can you learn them through an MBA? Absolutely, yes. Do people do that? A lot of them. In fact, in my family, one of my uncles, he did his MBA from IIFT. And so he did that immediately after graduation. Okay. So he was young and he did his grad, and then he worked for 5-7 years, and he had this thing that I want to get into the best college. And he eventually did his second MBA from Harvard after some 8 years of working. And then he said, chalo, best mein jate hai, Harvard mein bhi jaake. He applied to a lot of colleges. So people do that. But I would like to once again emphasize what Vidit shared with you. Bhai, 2 saal, 2 saal, wo bhi jawani ke, aur khoob sara paisa. तो सोच लेना. Then Akshay has a question. How helpful is it to have a very diverse background for a mechanical engineering graduate who's working in an IT firm and is applying to a management college? So how important will it be for him to have a diverse background? Akshay, if you want to, you can keep adding to the question. Huh?
Yeah, actually.
So I'm assuming that by diversity, he means that apart from academics, are extracurriculars important? Is it important to have that's what I'm guessing from it. So maybe.
Yeah, I think I also sense the same thing. I think as far as diversity in terms of extracurriculars, co-curriculars, I think that's very important, because an IIM interview, an IIM selection process, it's just not based on academics. There are multiple factors which an institution looks into an MBA aspirant for the final selection. And I mean, specifically, if I take the case of my interview, there are multiple questions which are asked on my background, on what I like, my interests, passions, on what I excelled in school, college, etc. And that formed the base of that conversation during that interview. And, it's more about that humane touch during the interview. And these conversations, these diversity factors add a lot to that. Because
can you dive into specifics? I mean, what kind of other activities did you go on to do? Maybe we can.
Yeah. So for example, I like writing a lot. I'm a published poet. I won a national poetry competition. Wow. So this was one of the point of discussions during the interview. And the interview was really impressed by this. And, we talked more on poets. And I also studied philosophy. So that got blended with various philosophies, and we discussed on them. So it's just about, having a point of view on things. That really helps. And not to ignore the fact there is life beyond your getting selected. While you are in the college, there are numerous societies in college. You have a professional career to pursue. And then the companies, the corporates which come for recruitment, they also look for similar things. So it's very necessary to have those interests and passion.
So I mean, in fact, one of the things that you mentioned, poetry, that's unusual. Philosophy interest, that's also unusual. And conventionally, you won't have, most of the times, you won't have something called an achievement in these domains. Yes. Although you do have one in poetry. But I mean, as long as you have those things, it would help, right?
Yes, yes.
That's the sense. But and Vidit, rest of things apart, if will it be too much to ask you to recite some poem that you recall, or maybe something that you like, even if it is not something that you wrote?
I'll have to recall actually.
नहीं, जब तक तुम रिकॉल करते हो मैं तब मैं बाकियों को बता दूं भाई देखो सब में अच्छी चीजें होती हैं. If you start thinking, you'd realize that there are plenty of interesting things for you, but बताओगे नहीं तो कैसे चलेगा? And just to set the mood, हाँ, ऐसे बीमार की दवा क्या है? जो बताता ही नहीं हुआ क्या है? So अब बताओगे नहीं क्या अच्छी चीजें तो कैसे चलेगा? So Vidit, could you recall anything? Maybe something that you can share.
I think I wrote 3 lines before leaving the campus, Ahmedabad, since it's a red brick structure and there's a sacrosanct 1:45 surprise quiz deadline, which I think many of you might not be aware of, maybe some are aware. So I wrote 3 lines on it. It started the red brick building structure. The 1:45 p.m. deadline will leave you no time. I think it was some. I'm forgetting the lines actually, but I think.
No, but I can relate. I have a suspicion that you probably wrote it in the first semester. Because that is when you are bogged down by the deadlines. After a while, you become kind of accustomed to it.
Yes.
So maybe that. But that's nice, huh? The next time around when you are here with the students, huh? If I'm not around, which I'll not be around in the next session of Vidit, but please make sure that you guys ask him to recite something for you and for some for us. Then in the interim, we have this. I think Praful has a question where he's actually not left. He's playing it very smartly, huh? His question is, how is an IIM graduate different from somebody who's passed out from, his words, not mine, ordinary college? And why is it that MNCs want them as their first preference? And he has in the bracket added, tell me something other than the faculty and the education imparted by the college. छोड़ा क्या उसके बाद यार यही तो है main चीज. But working with his constraints, what makes people from IIM special according to you? Time to brag about the alma maters now.
I think if I have to take in consideration of the constraints which you mentioned, I think first is the grind which each and every student goes through. I mean, there are deadlines which you have to follow. There are various assignment projects which you cannot plagiarize at any point. I mean, I had not seen this before in my undergraduation, and there's strict rules to these and strict penalization in case you try to violate these rules. First is this. Second is, I think, the plethora of opportunities IIMs offer. I mean, there are multiple scholarships which are directly sponsored by corporates. There are multiple industries visits, and even the courses which we have. This is where education comes in. There are directly courses wherein you directly go at the site visit. So, for example, we had a course on intelligent transport systems, and the professor directly took us to an airport and we saw the ATC tower. We also went to the JNPT port. We saw how things function there. I think these were once in a lifetime opportunities which as a general citizen I would have never seen. So I think this is what IIMs give you, that exposure.
Okay, KB has a question that I think is shared by a lot of people. He wants to know your views on new and baby IIMs and where they stand vis-a-vis the other IIMs. So what's your take on that at the moment?
I think definitely the baby and new IIMs have a bright future. But if we were to consider the current scenario, I mean, when you compare it vis-a-vis the older IIMs, definitely there's a big difference in terms of the prospects, the opportunities, etc. Though the older IIMs are mentoring the newer ones, but yes, I mean, you cannot expect the same level of opportunities existing on both the sides. So yes, that will be a constraint, I think, personally.
So at some point of time in the future, you would get bragging rights even if you're from a baby IIM. But now, I think they should not be your priority.
Yes.
they can be a compromise, a backup option, but not right now.
Yes.
In fact, I have two of the younger ones in my family. I'd be meeting them for Holi. One of them went to IIM Indore, and the other one had to settle for IIM Raipur. And both of them, when they talk about it, there are these distinct differences. At Raipur, when she went there, things were not that settled yet. And whereas Indore, on the other hand, had relatively more stable curriculum and the activities, the processes, the culture in particular. So I think those things definitely go and help us. But it's not that they are bad. Let's aim for Vidit's alma mater, and then if we are not able to get into that, we can always settle for something else. Then Akshay says, does the work experience carry any point of advantage over not so shining academics? So basically, advantages of work experience.
I think if you refer to the current selection process of Ahmedabad, they have increased their weightage for work experience. So I think, yes, that's a advantage currently. Earlier, they did not have much weightage for work experience. But I think the latest one, which I refer to, they are having more points for work experience, hovering around 24 months to 36 months. You can just cross-check again. So I think that is a plus. And I think basis my personal experience, I mean, work experience helps you decide, have a more conscious choice during campus placements, I think. If you're a fresher,
I think even the quality of learning that you have becomes better.
Yes,
you're at least able to relate to some of the challenges that you faced.
I agree.
So to that end, I think yes. Acha, just off the agenda, there are two people who have asked about CMAT. Yeah, we are running an entire series on CMAT. Savitri ma'am is taking you through a lot of sessions. I show Krishnendu Datta sir is taking you through a lot of vocabulary questions, and they are also giving you a lot of inputs on strategy. Make sure that you make the best of those sessions. So CMAT related queries, we can take them up later. And Jyoti, you are asking about MDI Gurgaon versus IIM Indore. यार तेरा career decide करना है यार Jyoti. I think it's better that you give a call to one of our counselors. We'll fix up a meeting with the faculty. There is a lot more that goes into it than just two labels. Both of these are great colleges undoubtedly, but it is important for us to know you a little better before we push you towards one of those. So do get in touch with our counselors, and I'm sure we'd help you with that. Then Praful, और तब तक भाई अभी भी कम लोग क्यों हैं यार? हाँ, शेयर नहीं कर रहे हो यार, ये कैसे चलेगा दोस्त? And then Praful, what is more important, an idea or an education if you want to become an entrepreneur? So for an entrepreneur, what is important, an idea or an education? So basically MBA करके धंधा करने का कि सीधा धंधा कर लो? I think that's what he's saying. So
yeah, this is a difficult one, I think. But I think if you take it in a very practical manner, I mean, you cannot deny that education helps a lot. You build those networks which really last a lifetime. I mean, you have these very strong alumni networks which you can anytime fall back upon. So you cannot deny them. But I mean, it is a personal choice here because there's a lot of financial, obligations which one has to go through while pursuing an MBA. And I think if you have a very good idea, if it's tried and tested, maybe, if you are confident that, you'll be successful in the market. And your ultimate goal anyways is after the MBA to become an entrepreneur, then why not, pursue the idea first? I mean, it's an individual choice here. But yes, I think education is very important because the kind of knowledge, the networks you build, that really you cannot ignore.
Absolutely. I think just to build upon it a bit more, I think all the entrepreneurs that see, normally when we think of entrepreneur, we tend to have this image of big shots, but every grocery store around your house, even those tiny mom and pop stores are basically businesses. What MBA primarily makes you really good at is to make your business profitable and to scale up your business. So if you want to learn about scalability, if you want to learn to enhance profits, then MBA is invaluable, right? So
Right.
you in that growth phase, you can't deny that. And then network is very important. Even raising funds becomes easy when you are from a
Yes.
premier college. People tend to trust you a little more, or trust in your abilities a little more. So it's not a prerequisite, but you do you,
It
right?
helps.
Just
Yeah.
talk to people and then check. Then very good question, Praful. What is your business idea though? Jyoti, once again, you're asking how is PGPSM program from IIM Lucknow? Very good. That's my standard answer, okay? You ask me what a program or a college, that's my answer. But then my follow-up question would be, okay, so tell me, what do you want from a college and what do you bring? So talk to us in person, we'd help you with that. So anything else that you have in your mind that you think can help our aspirants set the right course from today on?
I think I'll just like to give one key takeaway from my experience. I think everyone needs to be very persistent and patient in their preparation. Even I cleared my dream B school in my third attempt.
Okay.
The journey was not easy. There were times when I also felt like, I should just give up. It's not just happening. But the idea is to be patient and be perseverant. I mean, in pursuing your dream, you should really have that passion to, get into that top B school.
Right.
I think that should help. When you aim for 100%, then I think you'll reach 98 to 99%. So it's very important to be passionate for it.
Right. So passion, persistence, loads of self-belief, and two questions. One of them is from a person whose screen name is Fun Funny. Fun Funny. I do not know much about economics and finance, but I want to do an MBA. How should I start with it? So I'm assuming how should he start with economics and finance, since these are the kind of things asked in the interview as well.
No.
There is an assumption here. No? So
Yes.
with it, you can take it up, of course.
I think this is totally assumption-based question. Uh, this is a misconception that questions are asked around economics or finance only to aspirants. That is not true. I think they're curated and customized based on your background. So since I was from a philosophy economics background, I had questions around philosophy and economics only, and around my background basically. Also, you cannot ignore the current affairs and the general state of affairs in India and around the world. That you should be thorough with. But I think if you are not from a finance background, you should not expect being asked questions on that.
Except for those which are in the news at that
Yes,
time. No? So
some very
stuff like
basics ones which are like in the current affairs. That is a
absolutely, yeah. Things like
scenario.
inflation, fiscal deficit, etc., is
Yes,
something that
yes,
they'd expect, but
yes.
nothing much. A bit on merger of the banks, etc., that are
Banks,
in news,
yes,
those sort of things. But
yes.
otherwise, if it's not your background, no. And Dipanshu has a question: can a drop year affect your chances of selection?
I mean, in my batch, we had people with a drop year.
Mhm.
I think that the thing here is to be able to justify, why you had to drop that year during your interview. You cannot, beat around the bush on such areas. I think the key is that. But I think if you're able to justify it well, you are not at a disadvantage.
Mhm.
It should be genuine enough.
Terrific. Oh, we've Alok sir joining us in the chat window. He's also part of our team, so he's pitching in with PGPSM, etc. Alok sir, can you also take up Anupam's question and maybe connect with him later? Because Anupam once again has Anupam. First of all, congratulations. NMIMS Mumbai is a really nice college. Quite a few of my friends have studied there, and they've had great things to say. And you're a fresher from NIT Bhopal. So his question is, he's interested in finance. Should you join it? I mean, on the face of it, I'd probably say yes. But then once again, just sit down and talk to us about it. Huh? Maybe Alok sir, you can connect with Alok sir and then we can pick it up. Gaurang has a question. Any tips for improving English? So
I
Vidit,
think I'll say read, read, and read. And I think that's very important because you not only develop good vocabulary, you also develop good, sense of speaking, etc. Also, I think I would suggest watching certain documentaries, informative documentaries that might be of interest to you. Or maybe if that does not interest you, you can start with watching English movies. Maybe, that will help you in, at least starting off in your progress, in your journey to perfecting that English language with you.
Any documentary that you're able to recall on top of your mind? Something that comes readily to you? Something nice? In the lockdown, we've asked each other a lot about what to watch on Netflix. So this is like the intellectual version of that. Huh? Tell us documentaries.
I've watched a lot of documentaries of discovery. We had these air crash investigations. I really like those series, and I've watched a lot. Also, there's this documentary, Dreams of Sushi, wherein a lot of it is conveyed about the technological advancements in Japan around sushi. So that's really interesting. I think the idea
I've heard about it a lot from some more friends as well. I think high time I watched it now.
Yes, it's a must watch.
Right. So Anupam, Alok sir has shared his number with you in the comment box. Please use that to reach out to him. We'll help you. Jyoti, same goes for you too. Please reach out to Alok sir, and we definitely take up those specific queries and questions that you have. And just to add one more thing, as a language faculty, how to improve English. One of the things that you should definitely do is attend our classes too. Huh? We'll help you even more there. But there is absolutely no substitute for reading. I think we keep coming back to that theme, so please do that. Right. So any last word from you, Vidit? Anything that you'd like to leave our students with?
I think I'll just want to wish all of them best of luck in the journey towards preparing and getting into their dream school. And I think we're here to help you. Please feel free to ask any questions, any doubts you have, and we'll be there to assist you.
Terrific. Yeah. So thanks a lot for joining in. You'd see a lot more of Vidit sir in the coming days and weeks ahead. He has a very, very, very elaborate series of sessions planned for you to address these kind of queries and to ensure that you get a very healthy dose of insight and motivation. So thanks a lot, Vidit, for joining us. And those of you watching around, please give a big thumbs up. A like from you will be like, rabdi jalebi after a really sumptuous dinner. So we'd greatly appreciate that. And please make sure that you subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon before you leave. Once again, thank you, Vidit, for joining in.
Thank you so much.
We hope to catch you up in the coming sessions very, very soon.
Sure.
Thanks a lot. Have a nice evening. All to all of you watching too. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.